It's arrived, everybody.
Oh my goodness, that gave me a shock. I was just like in the midst of an email.
It gave Chris a shock behind the camera as well. This is it. I've done it. 211 bottles. So.
Of what?
Of apple juice. No, it's not lemonade.
It doesn't look like apple juice. It looks like pear juice.
No, it's not. It's
or lemonade.
It's delicious apple juice. So I want to try some with you.
Right.
211 bottles, everybody.
How many kilograms of apple go
Well, 350 kilograms make 250 bottles. So obviously maybe around 300, I don't know.
Have you noticed that Julie's got a grin like the Cheshire Cat?
Because I did it all myself. You picked
so
50.
happy.
You and William picked 50.
It does look like lemonade though. You sure you were picking apples, not lemons?
Okay, you're trying to be funny. But what I've done is...
Here's one she prepared earlier.
Yeah.
So
no, I didn't. What I'm saying is that's the old one.
Apple juice.
From
and this
not necessarily
is also apparently maple juice.
It is.
But they look completely different.
Well, I don't know. We're gonna have to try them.
Okay, we'll try them.
So this is.
I have to say, I do prefer my apple juice cloudy. This one.
Shake it.
That's now become cloudy. Okay.
We've got to shake it.
So that's like a dark vintage apple juice. And this is a modern, light, refreshing apple juice. So
this is sort of last year's, and this is, which by the way, you can still drink, and this is this year's. The difference is it just depends on how the seasons are and the frosts and which apples are, now I get to try this first, and which apple trees are, no, fine, stop it, stop. Please let me try it.
Okay, can I just say something? I think that the difference in colour doesn't depend on that at all. It just depends how many rotten apples you've thrown into the bucket.
No, that's not it.
That looks pretty rotten to me.
No, it's not. It's delicious. We drink this all the time.
We do drink it. Okay,
wait.
No, because you're doing that one.
Okay, so what I'm saying is it's interesting to see the difference. But I think, people are probably wondering how. I'm going to tell you why there's a difference really quickly. This juice mostly comes from those two big, basically, they've been here forever, trees out by the Dovecot. I got more apples from those trees this year. This came from the apple orchard where last year there were a lot more apples on there.
Right.
And I picked more of those apples last year.
Which,
when I
in my opinion, I mean, because you've got cooking apples down there and you've got more eating apples out there. The eating apples tend to be sweeter, which means that this should be sweeter than that.
Right, but I prefer it tart. Okay. It's good.
That is a tart apple juice. I mean, really quite tart. And it's delicious.
Okay, swap.
It's got real body.
Yeah, but that's from last year.
It's good on the nose.
There's 3 bottles of that left.
I'm trying to come up with other things to say. Right, okay.
Okay, clean your palate.
I need a sorbet.
I think they taste really similar.
Do you know what? I think they're exactly the same. It's just that this one has fermented a little bit, so it's getting a little alcoholic, or it's gone a bit brown.
It's not getting
And this
alcoholic.
one is 2 years younger. So this one
younger.
in 2 years' time
will
look like this one.
That is right.
This is 2 years old.
That's 2 years old. Sorry, I corrected it because I didn't pick apples last year. I didn't have time.
Last year you had a gap.
But by the way, you are allowed to drink your own apple juice around 4 to 5 years after it's been pressed. You just can't sell it. You can only sell from a year from now. So we can sell these, it says on here, best before date 2020, October 2025, which is great for us, which means we can sell all these bottles throughout the season.
We are
But we didn't sell these.
We're allowed to poison ourselves. That is good to know. Yeah,
It's not poisoning. Wow. Look, it's it's just because of health and safety, whatever, regulations. But, I mean, so we can't.
Anyway, cheers.
Well, wait, I want a little bit more of.
Well, you don't.
Here, you finish that.
I tell you what, let me try something. Okay, close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay. It's light. It's light or dark.
Hold on.
No, because
I got to get rid of the taste.
we established that there isn't much of a difference.
Hold on, let me just get my coffee here.
I think she's going to cheat. Can you blindfold her?
No, I'm not going to cheat. I actually don't want to cheat.
It.
Oh, it's like precious apple juice. Okay.
Just keep those eyes closed.
I actually don't want to cheat.
All right.
So I'm trying to pick my apples.
You've got to choose dark or light. Okay. That one first. Okay, swirl it around.
Wait, I want a little bit more.
No, you don't need more.
No, I do need more. Hold on. Okay.
Okay. And here's this one.
Okay, hold on. Wait, it's really hard. Oh.
No, you just opened she opened her eyes.
No, I didn't.
No,
I didn't. I promised you. You can watch this back. I'm going to say that's the new. And I'll tell you why. I felt that one, whatever one, was a bit more tart. So I'm going to say this is the new one.
She got it right.
And it's only because the aftertaste on that was more tart. That's why I had it 2 swirls around.
They are both delicious.
It's hard to tell the difference.
The bad news is you can't have any unless you come and visit us at Mapperton next season.
These will be for sale.
These will be on sale.
As many of you know, this beautiful Fortuny dress belongs to Alberta. She's the subject of my dissertation and, of course, Luke's great-grandmother. She was an American heiress, and she wore this dress in the 1920s. And really just look at the detailing. It is spectacular. And every time I look at it, it really does take me back in time. And as I pack it away for safekeeping, it reminds me of something that I've been absolutely loving you guys recently. And it's this game called Jun's Journey. And they're sponsoring today's video. And this game has this incredible 1920s vibe. And it makes me feel like I'm actually stepping back into Alberta's world every single time I play. Jun's Journey is this really fun, incredible game, and it's all about solving like those mysteries, just like uncovering stories hidden in the layers of history like we have here at Mapperton. And just like this dress, the game is set in the 1920s. I think that's like my favorite era. If I were to go back in time, I'd love to go to the 1920s. And they have like stunning visuals that capture like the glamour and the charm of that era, from like character designs to the intricate hidden object scenes. And the best part, you guys, is you get to decorate your own mansion. It's so much fun. Some takeaways, I'm like, oh, maybe I should put it here in Mapperton. But it gives you like this incredible, like when you decorate your mansion, it's like this opulent 1920s twist. And it's not just about the visuals, you guys, either. What really keeps me hooked is the puzzle solving aspect. I love a good mystery. And in Jun's Journey, finding those hidden objects advances the storyline. So that means there's always this incredible sense of discovery. And it's like uncovering a piece of history, much like this dress when I found this dress. So each puzzle you solve brings you deeper like into the plot. It unlocks new chapters and new mysteries. And I just find it so immersive. And it makes me feel like I'm right in the heart of the 1920s. It is the perfect way for me to just like unwind, but keep that sense of adventure alive. So if you guys would like to experience this journey for yourself, you can download Jun's Journey for free. That's right, it's free. Just use the link in the description or scan my QR code. I think you're gonna love the 1920s atmosphere and the thrill of solving these mysteries just as much as I do. So now let's just make sure that Alberta's dress is safe and sound. And of course, you know me, I can't help myself. I'm gonna look around Mapperton to see what other treasures I can find. And remember to click the link in the description box below to download Jun's Journey for free. So many of you have been incredibly supportive around the death of Quackers, our white Indian runner duck. And it really sort of took over national news here in the UK, but also it made it across the pond. It was in the New York Post because it was a really sort of appalling act that happened while we were open to the public. And I won't go into the details. Please do go back and watch those videos because this is a bright spot. And I want to make sure that this comes across as a celebration of Quackers' life. And many of you have been so incredibly generous as well in your donations for the Quackers Memorial Pond Fund. And we have just received this. And this is absolutely stunning. Here is a card. And it's just from an artist near to Mapperton in Bridport named Angie Porter. And she says, "Dear Julie, hope you enjoy this Quackers painting." And she did say, P.S. feel free to sell it to raise money for the pond or to keep it. And I think it's really lovely. And gosh, so I think I'm gonna ask you all below, should I keep this or should I put it out to all of you? Would you be interested in purchasing this, which would then, we would ship it to you, which would then help fund the pond. Do let me know. It's an absolutely stunning painting. I mean, she's incredibly talented. And then you can see Quackers' two friends, because they were, of course, the three musketeers, the two runner ducks that we do still have on the estate, thank goodness. But it's really, really beautiful, beautiful painting. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Angie for creating this. I'm not sure what to do. I mean, of course, there's a part of me that wants to keep it, but then of course, if we're raising funds for this pond, you know, perhaps that could go towards that as well. Anyway, what do you guys think down below? I want to hear from you and what you think I should do. But gosh, I just want to say a huge shout out to Angie, and this is absolutely beautiful. And in fact, I'm going to post this on my Instagram as well. So I'm just about to take a picture. So do check out my Instagram, and I'm going to put Julie Montague, and I'm going to put it on there as well.
So today, Claire and I have come down to Mythe. You might have seen on previous episodes of Mapperton Live, we've covered Mythe before. There's a wonderful lost village down here that used to be occupied, unbelievably, until the 1950s. But today there are just a few ruined cottages. Mythe means the confluence, the joining of two streams. And actually you can see we've got a stream coming down this way, and then just round the corner is another stream. So we are right at that confluence, and we're here because we are looking at possibilities for pond creation. Now, many of you have very kindly supported the Quackers Memorial Pond Fund, and we are still on the hunt for a suitable location. I'm here with Claire, and Claire is this estate manager here at Mapperton, as you know. And Claire, there has been some discussion about potentially creating a pond around here. What's the problem with the water as it is?
I think the problem we've had over the last few years with the volume of rain that's obviously been falling here in Dorset, the stream, the banks, the curvature of the stream, it's meandering, I think, a little bit more than it
So it's becoming more wiggly.
It's becoming more wiggly.
Which is a good thing for nature.
It is, but the wiggles are getting bigger as well and creating more of a swirl. So we can see here that the water's been coming around here at quite such a force, and it's undermining the bank there, but it's been creating a swirl here, which has eroded away some of the concrete of the track. So we used to be able to get tractors across here. Normally, when somebody got stuck over there, a tractor came from Loscombe over the ford to free them from the mud. But at the moment, you can't easily get a tractor across here
because the concrete has come away and the water it's eroded it. So you can see this water coming here, it's pushing up against this side, and that's causing this erosion. And what's going to happen eventually is it'll get all the way behind and we'll have no track.
Exactly.
And we've got to have a track because it links two critical parts of the estate.
So along with Mike, a few years ago, we did a bit of work opening up this area here to make it not quite as dense and leafy as it was. And in the summer months, when the water flow is obviously lower, what we've done is we've actually found some pipes underneath the concrete ford, which we didn't get the opportunity to sort of rod them and make them free. But what we also need to do is try and reduce the flow, or reduce the speed of the flow and the ferocity of the flow, to straighten this part of the stream especially, so that it's approaching the ford at a straighter angle, so that it doesn't create a swirl in that corner. It's also eroded a little bit up there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where that's come from.
But in general, it seems to me that unless we build that bank back up again, you know, and put in sandbags and more concrete, we're slightly fighting a losing battle here, because essentially what we're up against is climate change. We've got more rain, more water, and therefore more erosion. And one of the problems that this is, of course, causing people further downstream is flooding. And this is where I'm hopeful that Mapperton can create something that is both useful for us, because it helps slow the flow of the water, but it's also useful to avoid flooding downstream, because when we have a big rain event, it'll store some of that water up here rather than all pouring out into people's houses, which is a very bad thing indeed.
Really
We're much happier for the water to be pouring over our banks than we are in people's sitting rooms. Anyway, so in terms of actual pond locations, Claire, I mean, I can't see it working right there, but I could imagine potentially
A bit further
one
to the
over
other
here.
side.
Let's go have a look.
So this is interesting. This is where that
We got a new
so
stream.
we've got a new stream coming down here, and I'm not going to walk in the middle of it because I will sink.
Right, Claire, this is an area that excites me because it's pretty wet already, and it's this sort of open glade
Yep.
which could have a channel coming to it and feed a pond right here. What do you think?
It's a lovely idea. My one question would be
Here comes the problem.
how do you create the pond?
How do you create the pond?
I'm by hand digging.
No, digger.
Oh,
you get
I don't
diggers
know
in
how
here.
you get- how you get a digger in here, Luke?
Well, you just come the way we came. Cross the ford, over in the digger. Diggers have got big tracks. They're not going to sink into this stuff.
No, we'd have to copy some of the hazel around the edge.
We'd have to create a way through, but at least it's flat. It's not
Yeah.
like most of Mapperton where you feel like you're kind of hanging off a alpine cliff.
And we'd also have to just double check about the location of the triple SI as well.
Yeah, we have to make
Because
sure
much
that
of this valley's in
yeah. Otherwise, we might have to go further down. But
Portland
I
Vale
think
triple
this
SI.
this is not that interesting in terms of habitat, I don't expect. Partly because we used to have a pheasant pen here, so it's full of all of the ammonia from that pen, which is why we've got all these
Hence all
nettles.
the nettles.
And so this, it seems to me, could be dug out.
It seems like a
It
really
seems like a good
place.
spot. And the
Yeah.
other good thing about it is the canopy is open. So ducks flying across will spot this bit of water and be able to come down and spend time
And
on
if it needs, the stream is just running across there. So if there needs to be any kind of
Exactly,
outlet,
there's an outlet around that way.
there's the stream.
I think this is a really good candidate for the Quackers Memorial Duck Pond. Let us know your thoughts. And we shall look at some next steps, which is probably involves bringing somebody who knows more about pond construction than us down to have a look. We can't do anything this time of year because it's heading into winter and it'll be so wet, but it is a project that we really hope to get going with as soon as we can.
I'm in the library, everybody, and it looks a little bit different because this is where we had our Grand Historic Tour concert a couple of weeks ago. We packed up the Alberta exhibition. For now, it'll be back in display when we open back up to the public. But here in the library, alongside many of the Earl of Sandwich's journals, even one dating back from 1652, we have our Mapperton Patrons book. And these are for the patrons who have been with us in the Gainsborough membership level, the highest level, and have been with us for a certain amount of time. And so you can see, well, I'm going to give first names away, but we've got thank you to our Gainsborough patrons for supporting Mapperton Live. And this has been going on since 2021, 22, 23, and now we are in 24. Just make sure I did that correctly. There we go. We are in 24. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to Thurlow, to Thomas, to Linda and to Dr. David. Thank you so much for your support here at Mapperton over the past several months. And again, this book let's think about it. Even 100 years from now, somebody else standing in here will pull that book from the shelf and say, wow, these are the names that Luke and Julie put in their patrons book. And in fact, maybe one of Thurlow Thomas's, Linda, or Dr. David's offspring or grandchildren or great-grandchildren will come here and say, we want to see our relative's name in this book. So I'm just going to start to write them in. I think that's what's so special about it. This is history, yeah? Right here. So if you are interested in becoming one of our patrons at whatever level, from the $5 level up into this level, do check it out. We feel we create really fun, engaging content, and of course, as a patron, you get extra special behind the scenes stuff as well. Good stuff. Good. Here we go. And then my last one. And then I'll put it back. There we go. Fantastic. Make sure it's all dry. And this very special book goes alongside our other valuable and important books right there.
The thing about beavers is that they're supposed to build dams, and they do build dams, but I think since we've had beavers at Mapperton, we've done more human dam building than ever before. So you will recall that these banks burst because the pond rose so high, the banks couldn't cope and they burst, and we have spent hundreds of man hours building them back up again using modern construction techniques like sandbags and chopped wood. And Ben and the team of volunteers were here yesterday, and they've done an absolutely magnificent job, because this dam here, there's now two of them, this one had collapsed again. If I can make it over without falling in. This whole section had come down and the water was pouring through. And I think they put another 50 sandbags in here, but more than that, they've brought all the silt over to pack it like cement. And there is now no water going through the bottom there. This is job done, at least for now. And you can see the pond is starting to fill, but it's not completely filling. And the reason it's not filling is that, having plugged the hole over here, this dam has now started to give way. You can see all the water running around the side. You know, water always finds a way, doesn't it? So there's no water coming out this side, but we've got to stop it coming through this side. And the question is how? And even if we do plug that, is it just going to find its way around again? So I think we're going to leave it for a bit, hope that the water comes up. In the meantime, I've started the process of reapplying for a license to bring our beavers back to Mapperton, because really they ought to be doing this work for us. It's not really a very good idea for humans to be building as many dams when the beavers can do a much better job than we can. Now, many of you watching this channel may think that I'm just standing in the middle of a rather boring green field. And of course, everybody is entitled to their opinion. But this, to me, is a field full of opportunity. Now, we've visited it before, I believe, on Mapperton Live, because one of the ideas that we've had for this field is that it should become a campsite, an opportunity for people who want to visit Mapperton wildlands to pitch their tent, to enjoy the stunning scenery, the proximity to the coast, go and visit the pigs, the horses and the cattle, and of course that would be a wonderful thing. But since we put those plans together, another opportunity has appeared, and that opportunity is called biodiversity net gain. Now that may strike people as a rather dry and boring title, and indeed it is, but it represents real opportunity for Mapperton, but also for nature recovery. Let me explain a bit more. You see, beneath my feet, we have some really rather boring plant species. In particular, we've got clover, and we have grass, or perennial ryegrass. This field is basically full of ryegrass and clover. There's the odd dock, one or two other things. And that makes it a really poor quality field from a biodiversity standpoint. There's really only 2 species here. Now, in the past, that of course has been good and continues to be good for grazing. Cattle in particular get a lot of nutrition from these 2 species. But if your objective is to restore ecosystems, then actually there's not much that's going to happen here. And this is where it gets interesting. Britain is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world. We rank at the bottom of the G7. We're in the bottom 10% of countries globally. And the reason for that is that we've had such a period of intensive agriculture, particularly after the war, focused quite rightly on producing enough food for the nation, that we've done it at the expense of our plant and animal species. And this country, along with many others, has signed up to something called 30 by 30. This is a commitment to set aside 30% of our land area for nature by 2030. And currently, it's less than 9%. In fact, some people argue it's less than 3%. So we've got a long way to go in only 6 years. And so what is the government going to do about that? How are we possibly going to get to 2030 setting aside 30% of our land area for nature? Now, one of the ways that this can be achieved is through encouraging nature recovery projects. And one of the government's plans in this regard is to require developers, people building housing, people putting in new building developments, to offset the harm that is being created by those developments by investing in nature recovery elsewhere. And this is now law in the UK. If you are a developer, you have to offset by 110% any harm that you're causing. And in order to do that, farmers, landowners now have an opportunity to invest in nature recovery and in return receive payments from developers in order to support the costs of that project. And this is a rather wonderful thing, because it means that finally there's going to be funding, enough funding to do some really important projects. And here at Mapperton, we hope to be one of the first in Dorset. Now these fields here, and it totals around about 14 acres, are called emmets. And in the past, I think it's been arable, so we've probably had a wheat crop in here. Obviously at the moment it's pasture. I can also remember a time when it was full of maize, and that was creating a cover crop for pheasant shooting. But now we are about to embark on a project to replant all of these fields with wildflowers. And the idea is that if we start with a very low baseline, which is what we have at the moment, because all we've got is ryegrass and clover. That's very poor in ecological terms, and we end up with a wonderful, rich tapestry of different wildflower species. We might have corky-fruited water dropwort, we might have orchids, we might have all sorts of wonderful thistles, bird's foot trefoil, oxeye daisies. I mean, the thing could just be alive with colour and life, and all of the invertebrates, the bees, the pollinators that come as part of that. Then obviously, if that was what this field turned into, it would be a wonderful thing for nature. And let's not forget that we've lost something like 95% of our wildflower meadows over the last 50 years. And what's rather wonderful is that this work has already begun. We had a team of volunteers helping us plant a whole new hedge along this fence line, and these are all native species. We've got hazel, we've got blackthorn, we've got field maple. This is going to form the most wonderful hedge over the next few years, which will form a natural boundary, but also a wildlife corridor for all sorts of species. And what's really important is that we get paid. So the hedge is an improvement in biodiversity. The wildflower meadow that we're going to be creating here is a massive improvement in biodiversity. And the funding that we get to do these things will help not only here, but also with the wider rewilding project, because it'll enable us to do other things that are essential in that project, like putting in more ponds, like creating more wildflower areas, and indeed some of the fencing that we need to pull out and some of the cattle grids that we want to put in. So even on a site like this, which is relatively small, we can find that the uplift that we create in terms of positive things for nature delivers a lot of extra income to the estate, which is so vital when we look at all the other costs we've got of our nature recovery project here. So how does this work in practice? Well, there's quite a lot you've got to do to get ready for selling biodiversity net gain units. The first thing you've got to do is choose your land area. And obviously we've chosen this field here. We've got another site on the other side of the valley. And then we have invited an ecologist to come in and do what's called a baseline survey. And the baseline survey, in fact, I've got it in my hand here, looks at the area of land and identifies all the species that we've got here already, so that we create a baseline. We know what our starting point is. And then, having done that, we can then say, given this baseline, here are the improvements that we're going to make, and here's how long we think it will take. And then there is a very clever spreadsheet that has been developed by the government, by DEFRA, and that comes up with what is called the biodiversity metric. And that is a calculation that tells us how many units are being created of biodiversity net gain. So you plug in the baseline, you plug in the things that you're going to be doing, and it spits out a number. And then once you've got that number, those are the units that you have to sell to developers. That's not quite as simple as it sounds, because in order to be confident that a farmer or a landowner is going to commit this, you've also got to go into a contract with your local council. And we're in the process of doing that at the moment. And that involves working on an agreement with them, which is called a Section 106, that commits this land for 30 years to this project. And in addition to that, we've also got to have in place what's called an HMMP, a Habitat Management and Monitoring Plan, which says in detail how we're going to manage the site. And if it's a wildflower meadow, we've got to graze it. We've got to bring animals in here to graze it off. We can't just allow it to take off on its own, because certain species will dominate and you won't then have the variety of species that we're looking for. And so we've got to manage it, but we've also got to monitor it. So we've got to come back and say, are we achieving the goals? Have we got the variety of species that we were aiming for? Has the seed worked? Has it germinated in the way that we'd hoped? and how has the thing developed over the 30-year period. So that's another responsibility that we have. You get paid up front, but you've got 30 years of costs, and that means you've really got to be sure of your sums and you've got to be sure of your commitment, because 30 years, that's a long time. This is such a wonderful field here at Mapperton. You've got so many different aspects. You're looking north in that direction. You're looking west up towards Marsh Farm. This is called Storage Valley down the bottom. You're looking up the hill towards Coltley, and it's a magnificent field. But just think how much more wonderful it's going to be when it's full of wildflowers and full of the hum of wonderful insects flying around, enjoying their nectar. It's a project that I'm really looking forward to seeing develop over these next few years.